Welcome. In this video, we're going to discuss how the learning perspective approaches personality. So by the end of the video, you should be able to describe how the behaviorists would explain personality, social cognitive psychologists, and some specific terms we'll discuss are going to be reciprocal determinism, locus of control, and self-regulation. So as mentioned, we're going to discuss some other theories of personality now. We'll talk about the behaviorist perspective. Now, if you remember back to probably chapter 1, behaviorism involves conditioning, right? So to a behaviorist, we learn our personalities, or our personalities are developed through rewards and punishments, and these can change over time. So in other words, our personalities aren't just defined by our childhood and the consequences we encounter as children, but also as adults. And so that there's, when some aspect of our personality is rewarded, that continues, and if an aspect of our personality is punished, then that would change. The social cognitive perspective doesn't disregard this idea of rewards and punishments. Remember, it's the same when we talked about the social cognitive theories of learning, right? So again, conditioning is important, but cognition is equally important. How we think about not just the rewards and punishments, but about other things that we are exposed to. It's going to emphasize things like reciprocal determinism, observational learning, and self-efficacy, the importance of self-efficacy in the formation of our personalities. Now, we've already discussed observational learning in a prior chapter, but we'll discuss reciprocal determinism and self-efficacy here. So hopefully you see how these two perspectives are have a slightly different way of approaching personality. So reciprocal determinism was a concept that was developed by Albert Bandura. You can see that here. It has 3 components to it. So the first one is going to be personal factors. These are going to be our cognitions, basically, our beliefs, our emotions, our values, our attitudes. It's going to include self-efficacy, which we'll discuss momentarily. There's going to be environmental factors. So the environmental factors are going to include the context of the situation, our culture, our social networks. And the third factor are our behavioral factors. Behavior is not solely the result of individual choice or external environment, and it's going to include our actions, our choices, the effort we put into certain things. So, and the idea is that it's not just one thing influencing the other, that there's constant interplay between all 3 of these aspects of our personality. And that's the idea of this reciprocal determinism, so that our personal factors can influence the environment we find ourselves in. The environment can influence our personal factors. Personal factors can influence our behavior. Behavior can influence personal factors. And then there's also this interplay between our behavior and the environment. For example, a student's attitude, a personal factor, can affect their classroom behavior, which then influences how the teacher and the peers, an environmental factor, respond. And that further then shapes their students' attitudes and their behaviors. So this is a dynamic process, and it underscores that change in one aspect can initiate change in others, leading to an evolving interaction over time. So another aspect of this social cognitive theory is the idea of self-efficacy. So self-efficacy is an individual's belief in their own abilities, their abilities to complete certain tasks. Within the social cognitive theory, this self-efficacy is an important contributing factor to personality. So self-efficacy itself is affected by a number of different things, including performance on tasks, on prior tasks, behavior models, and comparison with others. So basically comparing your own abilities with other individuals. Persuasion from others, what others are trying to get you to do or trying to get you to believe. And then physiological feedback, the perceptions you have, the arousal you have during different tasks. And so this self-efficacy, how we believe in ourselves, can have a strong impact on our personality within this social cognitive theory of personality development. And another factor I want to introduce to you is this idea of the locus of control. So this is the extent to which you feel you have control over the outcome of your events. Now, Gillian Rotter in the 1960s proposed this idea of a locus of control, and it being another factor that can contribute to our personalities. So it was part of her social learning theory, but had really a bigger impact on our educational systems, health, and clinical psychology. So this is the extent to which you feel you have control over what happens in your life. You have an internal locus of control. So if you feel like you are not in control of your own life and that other things outside your control, so people, luck, chance, etc., determine the direction your life takes, you have an external locus of control. So other people control your destiny. And that can lead to low self-esteem. On the other hand, when you have an internal locus of control, you believe that you are in control of your own destiny, and that leads to a higher self-esteem. And it's important to note that this is a continuum, according to Rotter's theory. So the people that are the most happiest are those that can make the correct attributions at the correct time. So let's imagine two people working at the same sales job with a new job opening that would be a promotion for both. Isaiah has an internal locus of control and believes that the harder he works, the more effort he puts into his job, the more likely he is to get the upcoming position. Julian, on the other hand, has an external locus of control. He believes that the chance he'll get the upcoming promotion is based more on who the boss likes more, and the team that he would like to oversee, and doesn't really feel like he has any input into whether he gets this position or not. Now, while it might seem like sometimes that external locus of control, you're not taking, credit if things go badly, might be a good thing. Think about how much more fulfilling it is to think that I've worked hard, I've earned this promotion, and I got this promotion. Another important concept that contributes to our personalities is the idea of self-regulation. So the idea of self-regulation is that you're aware of your behaviors and you can control them if you need to. You can monitor, you can evaluate your behavior, you can reinforce behaviors on your own. So Walter Mischel wasn't the one that proposed this idea of self-regulation, but he has a famous marshmallow test where he had preschoolers sit in a room with a marshmallow and told them that if they could wait for 15 minutes, they could have 2 marshmallows. So he's trying to get them to self-regulate. And this has to do with the idea of executive functioning in that prefrontal cortex. So the question at hand was, could the preschoolers self-regulate and wait for a bigger reward? So Mischel went on to follow these preschoolers and found that those that could wait had better outcomes later in life. However, we got to take this with a grain of salt. It has been replicated, but not with the same robust effects that Mischel saw. The important takeaway message is that it isn't the preschoolers who can self-regulate. It isn't that preschoolers who can't self-regulate are doomed for failure, but that self-regulation can be taught and that it's a valuable skill to teach, and we should be teaching it to all children. It's not just something that somebody should have naturally. So in fact, a very popular show for preschoolers undertook this process of teaching self-regulation. So you think about Cookie Monster. When we think about him shoving cookies in his mouth, Sesame Street put a whole season together and a song trying to get Cookie Monster to self-regulate and in turn teach preschoolers to watching the show to self-regulate. So you can read more about the marshmallow test and Cookie Monster's song on Canvas.